Let's go back to the East Coast. Let's go back to Long Island. Let's go back to Bellport. And let's go back to where it all started. Good morning. It's an absolutely gorgeous day here in La Jolla, California. I enjoyed sharing my most recent trip to Bellport so much that I actually wanted to share a different trip I'd taken earlier in the late spring. My spring visit to Bellport was all about gardening and eating, enjoying the bounty of land and sea. We dug up and transplanted almost all of the bushes, ornamental plants, and even a small tree in my friend's front yard. We absolutely gorged ourselves on fresh-caught North Atlantic seafood and drank quite a bit of top-notch natural wine. So without further ado, let's go back to the East Coast. Let's go back to Long Island. Let's go back to Bellport, and let's go back to where it all started. Our journey east on the train is full of memory triggers from my childhood, adolescence, and adulthood. I have fond memories of getting dressed up on the weekends for a day of culture and delicious food served on white tablecloths in the city. While waiting for the train on the platform, the excitement about leaving what seemed to me to be the most boring town in America for the exciting and frenetic city was palpable. Unlike most other teenagers in my cloistered and parochial suburban town in Long Island, I had free rein to travel in and out of the city on the Long Island Railroad. The irony being, after living in the city for a few years and maturing into a cranky, full-grown adult, there is nowhere I would have rather returned to than leafy and serene North Shore, Long Island. We made it to Bellport, and when I see my friend's charming white bungalow, I instantly relax. It's become a refuge for the local cat population. And with this level of hospitality, I can't say I blame them. I absolutely adore the sound of the rustling of the wind through the oak and maple trees. It was probably one of the first natural sounds I heard as a baby. This is my favorite house in the village because of its mansard-style roof and its glorious garden. There's always a beautiful breeze down here on the Great South Bay facing Fire Island. I don't think I've ever come out here to Bellport and not made a visit to my favorite seafood spot, Mastic Seafood. I'm not a bit ashamed to say that I absolutely gorge myself on freshly caught seafood whenever I'm here. Grilled flounder, scallops, natural wine, and pasta. After a day in the garden, I'm craving carbs.
My friend makes the most delicious pureed herb sauce. And the secret ingredient to make it creamy is shallot.
Growing up in North Shore, Long Island, my father over the years planted a beautiful garden, planned and tended to by himself, and he absolutely passed that love of gardening, growing things, and just nature in general to me. So when my friends bought this house in Bellport, I was overjoyed because my parents had just recently moved out of Long Island, sold their house and the garden along with it, and my two friends who are actually from overseas had no experience gardening in the Northeast climate, much less in Long Island, which is its own unique climate for gardening. Their house was completely renovated when they bought it, but it actually didn't have any landscaping whatsoever, not even turf. So they literally started from scratch. So when they started, they did like most people do when they buy a house and they start planting a garden for the first time. They go to the nursery or they go to the big hardware store and they see a plant and they plant it and they put a couple things in the ground just to see what grows. And as it grows in, unfortunately, there's no design. Things are at different levels. Things might be blocking out views. So after several years in this home, my friend had decided that she was going to plant the most beautiful garden on the block. And in this town, in Bellport Village, the gardens really are spectacular. So as usual, she's aiming high. So when I got there, she showed me this reference photo from Europe, I believe it was from London, of a really, really beautiful, very interesting garden that was planted exclusively with native plants. And this garden was very, very focused on the color palette. The foliage was dark green and the flowers were only white. So it was a very, very elegant, minimalistic color palette, but the planting pattern and the shape of the garden beds was very naturalistic, very much based on a meadow garden from the English countryside, lush, round edges, and not a lot of hard lines and repetition. So I absolutely love this, and in Bellport, as you well know, the sea breeze off of the Great South Bay is incredible and it's nearly constant. So with this beautiful meadow garden out the windows, you can see the gorgeous movement of the sea breeze even when you're not outside to enjoy it. So as soon as I saw this reference photo, I knew for sure that this would be the perfect design for her front yard. So off we were to the local nursery that specializes in native plants, and we, between the two of us, we were able to share our knowledge of gardening and design and truly come up with the best garden on her block.
We're here at my friend's favorite nursery. It's May and the selection of plants is outstanding. One of the specialties here is the abundance of native plant species. And my friend has taken special care to let me know that none of the plants I grew up with were native and that I should stop making suggestions. I love these nautical themed topiaries. They have the type of coastal whimsy that I always associate with East End, Long Island. The indoor greenhouse plants are so lush and fragrant. Here in the Northeast, they're needed to get a head start on the growing season. Now let's work off that pasta gut in the garden.
So here we are in beautiful Bellport, Long Island. It's raining down pollen, and we've been very, very busy these last 3 days. So we've re-landscaped the beds, we've moved a ton of plants, and the new design is mostly native plants with a dark green foliage and mostly white flowers. So it's going to be extremely elegant. It's going to be a meadow, naturalistic, soft cottage garden bed. And that's going to look really great against the angular, more modern lines of the house. So we've rounded out the beds. We took out a hydrangea tree. That's something I've never heard of. We took out a bunch of things. What did we take out?
Beach plums.
Beach plums. We took out beach plums. What were the things in the back that we placed? We took out some sort of thing, some like bush
kind of
thing.
Floral midget.
So this is going to grow in really nicely, and then I'm going to put ferns in to fill in and grow. And that's going to be really, really beautiful. You can imagine these are going to stay pretty low. These will go to a maximum of 4 feet. And then the native oak leaf hydrangeas are going to grow to about 4 feet. So it's going to be a really soft, naturalistic foliage and flower plant, and that's going to have a lot of movement. There's a beautiful sea breeze here, so you really want to have the soft movement in your landscape bed. So we rounded the corners here, and that'll probably continue in the next phase of the project. And this is going to be more of a flower bed. So this bed here is getting more soft foliage and low plants. So we moved about 12 bushes and this tree, and here is a climbing hydrangea, which is going to be really beautiful, and eventually this will be on a trellis.
Lilies of the valley, or Muguet du Bois in French, are hiding here in the garden bed.
And then here are the alliums. That's really pretty, very European. Here's the bluestone patio. This is really, really beautiful. This looks very elegant. Here's their fire pit. This is an awesome Corten steel fire pit. I think this looks amazing back here. Bushes that we transplanted, whatever these are called. So her boundary plants are growing in beautifully, and the grubs haven't started yet, so the garden looks beautiful. I should ask my father also about
that's
that.
why I gotta kill them like soon.
Yeah. So we transplanted 2 of these. What are these? Something? These are a something bush.
Something bush.
And they look nice. They look better back here. And then we transplanted
Peach plums.
here's the peach plums, and then those are bay laurels, right?
Yes.
The bay laurels will go behind them in our next phase.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty good for 3 days, and
Absolutely.
it's wonderful. Gardening, in my opinion, is exercise, science, art, design, therapy, and spirituality all combined. So I'd be hard pressed to find a more pleasant way to spend my time in Long Island, back in my native homeland.
And once again, I am dazzled and enraptured by the late afternoon light that has inspired artists for well over a century. It's such a balm for my eyes to see so much green after so many years of intense drought in California has left everything shades of brown and tan. I could just stay here and never leave. Just taking in that refreshing, deliciously fragranced coastal breeze. Nevertheless, it's time now to get back on that train and make our way back to the noisy, dirty, and dangerous city.
Thank you so much for joining me back in my favorite East Coast beach town, Bellport, Long Island. I loved rolling down the railroad through memory lane with you, puttering around in the garden, and absolutely going hog wild on freshly caught North Atlantic seafood and top shelf natural wines. So it's so wonderful to go down memory lane and to revisit childhood, but it's also very important to know that memory triggers can actually be overwhelming and negative. So it's so important when you are finding yourself really being inundated by memory triggers to regulate your emotions, to continue keeping a mindset of awareness and self-regulation so that they don't become overwhelming. Now, I remember the very first time I went to visit my friends out there, I was struck by the overwhelming sense of memory triggers from childhood, and I realized that was actually a perfect chance to learn how to better regulate myself when I encounter memory triggers that are external, that are beyond my control. So once again, thank you for joining me. I'm Will Brennan, natural lifestyle expert, founder of Desert Mountain Apothecary, author of upcoming ebook, Natural Lifestyle Optimization. If there's one thing, again, that I want to leave you with, please be kind to yourself. Love yourself. Your life is worth living. Your life means something. And there is no one else besides you that is just like you. So let your light shine brightly and with lots of love. Thank you so much for spending time here on my channel, Desert Mountain Apothecary.